Listen carefully, because most people will never hear this, and that is exactly why they will never win. The difference between the average and the unstoppable is not luck, it's not timing, and it's not talent, it's mindset. You are either building a machine inside your mind that cannot be stopped, or you are letting mediocrity shape you without even noticing it. Every thought, every decision, every action compounds, and by 2026, the winners will be those who mastered their internal world long before the external world gave them a chance. Stop waiting for permission. Stop blaming circumstances. Stop imagining what could have been. Winners create opportunities where others see obstacles. They build systems that operate even when motivation dies. They wake up before the world sleeps. They train when everyone else rests. They push when everyone else hesitates. And they grind silently, knowing that pain is the tuition to greatness. Excuses are for people who lack courage. Every I can't you say trains you to fail. Every I will you declare trains you to dominate. Strength begins in thought, power begins in decision, and victory begins in preparation. You will fail often, and that is good, because failure is feedback, but only if you learn, adapt, and attack again. Mediocrity is disguised as comfort, and comfort is the most dangerous prison you will ever enter. If you want to win, you must embrace discomfort. You must endure the things others avoid, and you must do it consistently. Your environment will try to weaken you, your habits will try to betray you, your own mind will lie to you, but the unstoppable learn to see the lies, to break the chains, and to convert pressure into fuel. Fear is inevitable, but fear is also a compass. It points you to what you need most. Action is the antidote to fear. Winners act before they feel ready. They push through, even when they are scared, tired, or alone. Discipline is their weapon. Focus is their shield, and clarity is their compass. Every morning you wake, you must ask yourself, what will I do today that my future self will thank me for? Every night before sleep, ask, did I push harder than yesterday? If your answer is yes, your mindset grows stronger. If no, you retreat back into weakness. Winners understand that time is a currency you cannot waste. Minutes lost to distraction, procrastination, or laziness are minutes stolen from your future dominance. They protect their focus, their habits, and their standards like their life depends on it, because it does. You do not need luck. You do not need validation. You need execution. You need relentlessness. You need consistency. And above all, you need to build your identity around action, not emotion. Your identity dictates behavior, and behavior compounds into destiny. Decide who you are. Decide what you will tolerate. Decide that mediocrity is unacceptable, and then act accordingly. Every uncomfortable morning you embrace, every heavy decision you make, every small action taken while others hesitate compounds into unstoppable momentum. Momentum destroys doubt, doubt destroys dreams, and in 2026, only those who mastered momentum will dominate. Stop negotiating with your weaker self. Stop waiting for permission from others. Stop consuming distractions disguised as entertainment. Build standards, embrace discomfort, endure silently, act relentlessly, and your life will reflect the mindset you refuse to compromise. The world does not owe you success. The world does not pause for your doubts. It responds only to results, to pressure, and to dominance. And when you finally internalize this, when you stop being passive and start being a force, nothing can stop you. Pain becomes fuel, failure becomes information, discomfort becomes your training ground, and the average fades into the background. In 2026, winners will rise not because the world was easy, but because they became impossible to stop. Discipline is the single greatest weapon a man can wield, yet most people ignore it because it is uncomfortable, demanding, and invisible. And that is exactly why they fail while others win. Discipline is not about feeling motivated. It is about doing what must be done regardless of how you feel. Every single day, every single hour, every single moment. Because emotions are fleeting, but habits compound relentlessly. And the man who builds unbreakable habits early will dominate those who chase temporary inspiration. Winners do not wait for the perfect moment. They create it. They train their mind, body, and environment to obey the standards they set for themselves. They understand that life does not negotiate. It does not reward excuses. And it does not care about your comfort. So they take full ownership of their reality and refuse to tolerate weakness, hesitation, or delay. They surround themselves with people who match their standards, cut out those who drain energy or normalize mediocrity, and structure their life around execution, efficiency, and relentless improvement. They treat every setback as feedback, every failure as tuition, every criticism as information to sharpen their strategy, and every obstacle as an opportunity to prove that they are not average, that they will not bend, that they will not break, that they will not settle. They act while others wait. They in while others sleep. They prepare while others procrastinate. They study while others distract themselves. They invest in themselves while others spend on temporary pleasure. And through this accumulation of relentless action and uncompromising standards, they build an identity that no circumstance, no person, no challenge can dismantle. Because once your identity aligns with dominance, your behavior becomes automatic, your focus becomes unshakable, your decisions become immediate, and your results inevitable. And in 2026, this alignment will separate the few who dominate from the millions who drift, because the world will get faster, competition will get stronger, distractions will multiply, and only those with internal fire, external discipline, and an unbreakable standard will rise above the noise. Every morning they remind themselves that they do not chase approval. They do not wait for motivation. They do not negotiate with weakness. They embrace pain because pain is growth, discomfort because discomfort is evolution, rejection because rejection is clarity. And every single day they outwork, outthink, and outperform those who think being average is acceptable. And the truth is simple. No one can give you success. No one can hand it to you. No one can validate you. Your future is forged in your choices today, in your decisions, in your action, in your refusal to give in your relentless pursuit of mastery. And if you want to become unstoppable in 2026, you must train your mind to be relentless, your body to obey, your focus to be surgical, your standards to be non-negotiable, your patience to be tactical, your ambition to be insatiable. Because winners do not wait for life to favor them. They favor life through domination. And once you internalize this, your energy shifts. Your presence changes, your results explode, and suddenly the man who was quiet, who acted, who endured, who executed, becomes the man everyone else measures themselves against, not because of luck, not because of talent, not because of opportunity, but because he trained his mind, sharpened his discipline, and refused to settle for anything less than complete dominance. And this is exactly what will define the winners of 2026. Relentless execution, uncompromising discipline, and a mindset that refuses to accept mediocrity under any circumstances. Most people think success is external. They believe that opportunity, luck, or other people determine whether they win or lose, but the truth is brutal. Success begins and ends inside your mind. The world will never give you a break. It will never wait. It will never apologize. And if you rely on external validation, external timing, or external circumstances, you are already defeated. Winners understand that the internal battle is the hardest fight, the one that defines every result, every relationship, every achievement, and every failure. And this fight is fought with focus, persistence, and an obsession with non-negotiable standards. Because the man who cannot control his morning, his habits, his decisions, and his thoughts is the man who will always be at the mercy of external chaos. The average man waits for the perfect plan, waits for permission, waits for motivation, waits for someone to push him, and he drifts through life, never truly alive, never fully powerful, never in control, while the winner acts immediately, adjusts constantly, and learns faster than he fails. He understands that every moment is a chance to reinforce strength, to expand endurance, to sharpen focus, and to tighten discipline, and he refuses to waste energy on complaints, excuses, or distraction. He knows that distraction is the silent killer of ambition, that boredom is the hidden door to weakness, that comfort is the prison of mediocrity, and he attacks these silently every day with repetition, with resilience, with obsession, and with patience. Because dominance is built slowly, methodically, and intentionally. Every decision compounds, every small victory accumulates, every standard enforced adds layers of invincibility to his identity. And once that identity is unshakable, no criticism, no setback, no failure, no pressure can break him. The invisible work done in mornings no one witnesses, the sacrifices no one applauds, the discipline that feels unnatural and uncomfortable, the relentless execution of tasks long before they matter publicly. This is where the separation occurs. This is where the invisible elite is created. This is where you build a life that is unstoppable, unshakable, undeniable, and in 2026, The world will reward that identity because the world always favors the man who controls himself, the man who is consistent when no one is watching, the man who leverages discomfort instead of avoiding it, the man who executes relentlessly while others hesitate, the man who turns fear into fuel, pain into strategy, rejection into refinement, and resistance into growth. And the reality is simple. Most people will never experience this because it requires a level of brutal honesty, extreme commitment, and relentless action that most men are unwilling to pay. But those who do, those who push, those who refuse to negotiate with weakness, those who internalize this mindset and refuse to compromise will dominate every area of their life, leaving the average behind, leaving doubt behind, leaving excuses behind. And in the end, the unstoppable emerge not because the world gave them a chance, but because they became the force the world cannot resist, the energy the world cannot ignore, the presence that rewrites outcomes. And that is exactly how winners of 2026 will be created, through total control, relentless execution, unshakable identity, and a mindset that refuses to accept anything less than complete dominance. You must understand that life does not reward hope, potential, or intention. It rewards execution, preparation, and relentless mental toughness. And this is where most people fail. They hope for success. They dream about results. They imagine what could be, and they wait for the world to hand it to them. But the world is indifferent. The world is harsh, and the world will chew up anyone who is soft, distracted, or emotionally dependent. And this is why the difference between winners and the average is brutal yet simple. Winners act before they feel ready. Winners push when everyone else hesitates. Winners endure when others complain. And winners take responsibility when others blame. They internalize that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the regret of mediocrity lasts a lifetime. They know that discomfort is the only path to evolution, that rejection is feedback, that pressure is training, and that fear is a compass pointing them toward the very things they must master to dominate. And because they embrace this reality, they build identity faster than experience can teach it. They create habits that outlast motivation. They construct standards that silence excuses. And they operate with a consistency that compounds invisibly, slowly forming a presence, a momentum, a dominance that others cannot match. And in 2026, this will be the defining factor, because the world is moving faster, competition is multiplying, attention spans are collapsing, and distraction is everywhere. Yet those who enforce their internal rules, who control their thoughts, their focus, their time, and their energy, will move at a pace impossible for the average to follow. They will execute on strategies while the unprepared are still planning. They will grind silently while the distracted scroll endlessly. They will learn in solitude while the weak seek validation. And they will emerge from years of invisible preparation with a life so far above the norm that it seems effortless to outsiders. But effortless is never what it is. It is the byproduct of relentless repetition, unshakable standards, brutal honesty with oneself, with a life so far above the norm that it seems effortless to outsiders. But effortless is never what it is. It is the byproduct of relentless repetition, unshakable standards, brutal honesty with oneself, refusal to compromise, and the strategic application of discomfort. And the key to this is understanding that every choice matters, every morning counts, every habit reinforces identity, and every micro decision compounds into destiny. And if you truly embrace this, if you accept that mediocrity is a trap, comfort is a prison, and excuses are weakness incarnate, then you will begin to act in a way that the world has no answer for. Your energy will shift, your focus will sharpen, your execution will become lethal, and your presence will command respect without words, because dominance is not taught. It is earned silently, consistently, and painfully. And the man who does not feel fear, who does not collapse under pressure, who does not negotiate with weakness, is the man who becomes unstoppable, who takes what others dream about, who builds what others only hope for, and who sets a standard so high that the world itself is forced to recognize it. And that is exactly how the winners of 2026 will be defined: relentless acti, on unbreakable discipline, unmatched identity, and a mindset that refuses to yield under any circumstance. Every day you wake up, you are faced with a choice: continue as the average, distracted and reactive person society has trained you to be, or step into the arena of the unstoppable, the man who dominates through relentless action, mental clarity, and absolute standards. Most men choose comfort. They scroll, they consume, they rationalize. They wait for external circumstances to improve. And in doing so, they quietly surrender to mediocrity. But the winner understands that surrender is the beginning of failure, and failure compounds faster than success. Therefore, he takes full ownership of his reality, every decision, every habit, every thought, every interaction, and he refuses to blame, rationalize, or escape. He understands that pain is the tuition to mastery, that discomfort is the gateway to growth, and that resistance is the forge where identity is hardened. And because he internalizes this, his energy shifts, his focus sharpens, his patience becomes tactical, and his execution becomes unstoppable, no longer dependent on motivation, mood, or approval. Because identity carries him beyond excuses, beyond hesitation, beyond fear. And every day he asks himself, what will I do today that strengthens my dominance, my skill, my identity, my legacy? And every night he answers honestly, did I do enough? Or did I drift into weakness? And through this relentless, internal audit, he creates invisible leverage, a compounding effect of discipline and focus that transforms his life without anyone noticing. And when the world finally catches up, it is too late for the average to compete, because the winner has already mastered his mind, his body, his time, his standards, and his habits, and he acts decisively while others wait, relentlessly while others hesitate, patiently while others panic, and strategically while others stumble, because he understands that speed without direction is wasted. Force without control is chaos, and effort without standards is meaningless. And in 2026, this will be the real separation, the real distinction between those who dominate and those who drift, because the world rewards those who prepare, those who enforce discipline, those who internalize pain, those who convert fear into fuel, those who do what must be done when no one is watching, and those who understand that consistency compounds faster than intensity, that patience beats desperation, that identity trumps emotion, and that action creates reality, not dreams, not hope, not wishful thinking, but reality itself. And this is why the unstoppable rise while the average stagnates. This is why history is written by those who embrace discomfort, grind in silence, and refuse to negotiate with weakness. And this is exactly how you must approach 2026. Ruthless clarity, unshakable discipline, relentless execution, and a mindset so dominant that the world has no choice but to respond, respect, and recognize the force you have become, because identity cannot be faked, standards cannot be ignored, and the internal dominance you build now will manifest externally in every area of your life, leaving mediocrity behind, leaving hesitation behind, leaving fear behind, and establishing you as the man who cannot be stopped, delayed, or denied. By now, you must understand that the world does not care about your excuses, your history, your comfort, or your fears. It only responds to results, to execution, to relentless pressure, and the man who wants to dominate in 2026 must internalize this truth fully, because once you accept it, you stop negotiating with weakness, you stop waiting for motivation, you stop hoping for luck, and you start building a life based on standards, discipline, and unstoppable momentum. Every morning you rise before distractions. Every day you enforce habits that strengthen your mind, your body, your focus, and your identity. Every action you take compounds invisibly. And this compounding is what separates the elite from the average, the unstoppable from the passive, because consistency, patience, and relentless execution create a force that no circumstance, no challenge, no person can resist. Winners internalize that fear is a tool, pain is information, and pressure is training. And instead of fleeing from discomfort, they move into it, absorb it, master it, and convert it into fuel for domination. They understand that identity is not built by luck, by approval, or by temporary inspiration, but by thousands of small decisions repeated daily that enforce standards, remove excuses, and eliminate negotiation with weakness. They train themselves to act when the world hesitates, to push when the world rests, to endure when the world complains, and to execute when no one else is watching. Because the invisible work is the only work that compounds, and the visible results are inevitable. They understand that momentum is the ultimate weapon, that speed without direction is wasted, and that action without standards is meaningless. And they internalize that every uncomfortable morning, every heavy decision, every solitary hour of focused effort, every repetition of discipline, every refusal to tolerate mediocrity is an investment in unstoppable identity. And this identity generates energy, presence, confidence, and execution that cannot be faked or stolen, that cannot be interrupted or delayed, that becomes magnetic and unavoidable. And in 2026, this invisible force will be the defining factor separating the men who dominate from the men who drift, because the world will be faster, more chaotic, more competitive, and only those who have built internal dominance, discipline, and relentless execution will rise above. They will seize opportunities while others are distracted. They will convert pain into power while others complain. They will master the rules of life while others argue with reality. They will move with unstoppable consistency while others drift. They will act with tactical patience while others panic, and they will dominate because they train their mind, harden their identity, and refuse to negotiate with weakness. And the truth is simple. The man who controls himself, who executes relentlessly, who enforces discipline, who converts pain into fuel, and who refuses to settle for anything less than total dominance cannot be stopped, delayed, or denied. And that is exactly how the winners of 2026 will emerge. Relentless, disciplined, dominant, unstoppable, and untouchable. This is where the unstoppable emerges, where the man who internalized discipline, dominance, and relentless execution finally becomes undeniable. Because all the invisible work, all the silent sacrifices, all the pain endured, all the fear confronted, all the mornings conquered, all the habits enforced, all the excuses destroyed, all the resistance converted into fuel, all the relentless focus, all the momentum built, all the standards upheld, all the isolation embraced, all the pressure welcomed, all the failures learned from, and all the relentless action stacked together finally crystallizes into an identity that cannot be shaken, a presence that cannot be ignored, a force that cannot be stopped. The world responds not because it owes anything, not because opportunity favors you, not because luck chooses you, but because your internal dominance has become so strong, so consistent, so precise, so unrelenting that it forces results to manifest, that it forces doors to open, that it forces respect from everyone, that it forces recognition from the people, circumstances, and systems that try to ignore you. And this is the ultimate secret. The unstoppable is not built by temporary motivation, fleeting inspiration, or external validation. He is forged in relentless execution, uncompromising standards, brutal honesty with oneself, mastery over fear, mastery over pain, mastery over distraction, mastery over hesitation, and mastery over every aspect of life that can derail an ordinary man. And once this mastery is complete, the man becomes a machine of dominance, moving, executing, acting, and producing results with a precision and force that leaves mediocrity behind, leaving doubt behind, leaving weakness behind, leaving average men scrambling to keep up. And in 2026, the winners will be those who built this invisible fortress of identity and discipline, those who embraced discomfort, those who endured silently, those who executed relentlessly, those who refused to negotiate with weakness, and those who converted every obstacle, every failure, every rejection, every pain, and every challenge into fuel for unstoppable forward motion. And the truth is brutally simple. No one can stop a man who refuses to stop himself. No one can challenge a man whose standards are absolute. No one can outwork a man who has mastered execution. No one can overpower a man whose mindset is unbeatable. And no one can outlast a man who has trained patience, discipline, focus, and identity to perfection. And if you want to be that man in 2026, then you must decide today that comfort is no longer acceptable, excuses are no longer tolerable, weakness is no longer permitted, hesitation is no longer allowed, distraction is no longer accepted, and that from this moment forward, every action, every thought, every choice, every moment will compound into dominance, into unstoppable momentum, into identity, into results. Because winners are not born, they are forged, they are built, they are created through relentless execution, uncompromising discipline, total ownership, and a mindset that refuses to yield. And when you embrace this fully, when you internalize it, when you execute it, you will become unstoppable, undeniable, unstoppable in your actions, unbreakable in your identity, untouchable in your results. And in 2026, nothing will be able to stop you from achieving everything the average man can only dream of, because dominance, power, freedom, and victory are all the natural byproducts of a mind that refuses to compromise, a heart that refuses to quit, and a life led with absolute, relentless, uncompromising execution.